moment. Also, we are going live on Instagram. Are we live now?
We are live now.
Okay. And also, if you have any questions for anyone, please wait till the end. We have our dirty runners, one being Rachel on the front, will have the microphone. She'll be going around and giving the mics at the end. Also, you probably have some dirty gifts you've seen. Have you seen them under your... Yes? Okay, so one of our dear friends, Remy, she has created the Dirty Lion's Mane Brain Boosting Banana Cake. Now, we are at a time now where you might get a bit hungry. And if appetite does prevail, please limit the idea of rustling around, but do dive in, try that. And also, we have the Dirty Lion's Mane gummies in there. So you're going to be absolutely fine. You're sorted for the rest of the hour, I think, we have for this kind of experience. So, without further ado, let me start by introducing to you Tara Swart. Before she comes on, I have a few words to say. Tara is an Oxford-trained medical doctor and a PhD neuroscientist, the author of the best-selling Source. Has everyone read the book, The Source? Yeah. It's a book, yeah, thank you very much. It's a book that unravels how we can shape our reality by understanding the profound connection between the brain, mind, and purpose. She's also the senior advisor for neuroscience and leadership at MIT Sloan School and Management. But most importantly, forget MIT for a moment, she is also the Chief Science Officer for DIRTEA, so thank you so much for that appointment. But for me, I'd just like to say that Tara isn't just a neuroscientist. For me, personally, she's a guide. She reminds us that we matter, that life is magic, and that the greatest transformation doesn't quite start by changing our circumstances, but with training the brain and rewiring our thought patterns, we can become greater every day. So with that, please, can you join me in welcoming Tara Swart.
Trying to do this in the most elegant way.
I'm now honoured to introduce an incredible world self-development speaker. Many of you know her. She's Roxie Nafousi. Roxie's an inspirational speaker, 3-time Sunday Times bestseller, author, and a true pioneer in the space of self-empowerment. Her book, Manifest. Has anyone read Manifest? Anyone here? My God, she has smashed it. She has sold over 1 million copies. It's absolutely fascinating what she has done. And actually, to prove how good it is, I was looking this the other day. It's been seen on Anne Hathaway's coffee table, Hailey Bieber's book, and elegantly under Bella Hadid's arm, which is an achievement in itself that speaks to the impact of her work. So, while many of you might know her as the Queen of Manifest, tonight I just want to shed some spotlight on her new book on confidence. Does everyone know about her new book that's coming out next week? Has anyone been pre-ordering it? Okay.
Why not? It's $11.99.
So it's the 8 steps. It's the 8 steps of knowing what you're worth, and to celebrate this book. Oh yeah, next week, if I get the times wrong, please tell me if I get this wrong. The 29th of March, 11 a.m. onwards, we're going to be bringing our dirty truck out to Primrose Hill, ladies and gentlemen. It's a wonderful place to be. And Roxie's going to be joining us, and she's going to be signing some copies.
Coffee and confidence.
And there we go. And yes, we're going to be serving up some wonderful dirty brews. Now, beyond the work as an author, Roxie is also an investor and partner in DIRTEA. Some of you may already know. She's someone who believes in the power of what we do and shares our passion in well-being, self-care, and performance. So I am so happy to have her here. For you, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Roxie Nafousi. My goodness me, Jessica Salmonpour. I've got a disquisition here. But I'll keep it very short so we can get into it. Okay. Now, my brother and I first met Jessica in Dubai, and let's just say it wasn't, planned experience or planned meeting. In fact, it was a mix of fate, lockdown restrictions, and the universe, we say, that brought us together. But from the moment we started talking, we knew she was someone special. She wasn't just curious about DIRTEA, she dived in headfirst into the world of functional mushrooms, not just because of the idea, but as a personal transformation. And let's be honest, the first time I think she was repulsing the idea of drinking these mushrooms. But fast forward today, She's not only leading DIRTEA, she's helping us to lead this movement. And there's one thing I just want you to know, for those who don't know Jessica. Jessica has had a career of over 25 years in digital marketing, scaling businesses, and has sold over 2 startups in her career. What a woman, what a woman. She is also a mentor, a mother of 2. One of the children's here today, I believe, just here in the front row, and her wonderful, handsome husband just there. She is a renowned biohacker. Maybe she can just drop some of the ideas that she does. And also, as I said, not to repeat too much, but she is the CEO of DIRTEA. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jessica Nafousi.
Nicely done.
Ready? Okay.
Yes.
All right, so there's quite a few questions here, so prepared and ready. This is going to be quite a fascinating journey. I hope. Okay, to all of you, I want to start by talking about how we prioritise self-care and how that has impacted both your success and career. And if you don't mind, Roxie, can we start with you? You openly talk about the struggles you faced before a manifestation, how you hit rock bottom. Can you talk about how your journey to overcoming and how wellness has played a part in that?
Yeah, so by the way, hi. So nice and amazing to be here. By the way, when I was told I was doing a talk in Camden, I was expecting like a Brixton Academy vibe. And I still said yes. This is way cheaper than I thought it was going to be, I'm thrilled. So, you know, I was an addict to cocaine and alcohol for a decade. And I was, sorry about my voice by the way, and I was smoking, 20 to 25 a day. And I was always engaging in these habits that really kept me feeling that I was less than. It was really, the way I engaged in wellness reflected how I felt about myself. And when I discovered manifestation, I really discovered that I had the power to change my life and to take control back. And the first thing I did was start to change the way that I was living, the way I was feeding myself, the way I was moving my body, the habits I committed to, meditation, affirmations. And when I think about transformation, I do think that it all begins with what you put in your body, how you move it, and what you do day to day. And even now, I find that I hate that word, but I used it the other day, now I love it, protocol. And I can't even fucking say it right.
All the time.
My current protocol, is it protocol?
Protocol.
Yeah.
Protocol.
I said it.
You say a word, it's too weird. Whatever I'm doing right now, charged obviously by DIRTEA, is really working for me. And all these habits are meaning that, I'm sure we're going to go into it later, but no matter how busy I am or how much I have on, the stress, it doesn't cause the same amount of stress anymore. Like I'm able to handle so much more because I look after myself.
Do you mind if I go back to manifestation? Tara, would you mind just explaining the science of manifestation based on the experience that Roxie went through?
Yeah, okay, so a bit of a curveball question. So manifestation is basically about raising awareness of what you want, so knowing exactly what it is that you want, and then doing the real life actions that are going to bring that into your life. So it's on one basis as simple as setting a goal and doing what you need to do to get there. Like she wanted to get well, so she started eating differently and exercising differently and got there. In terms of the science, it's neuroplasticity, so it's the fact that our brains can change, because addiction is a very strong habit, right? So to overwrite that takes a lot of effort, and it's physically draining as well, which is why nourishing yourself better and sleeping better would have helped. So yeah, I think it starts with mindset, and then it starts with the actions, and then it's repetition, and eventually you overwrite the old neural pathways with the new one.
Was that a specific habit or turning point? Because to come from addiction and to kind of put coke down, whatever it may have been, what was the thing that was really helping you to kind of step away from addiction?
So it was actually becoming pregnant. So as soon as I found out I was pregnant, I was still an addict. The first thing I did was have a cigarette, because it was just so stressful for me in that moment, and I was not planned, and I was forced to give up my addictions very quickly, which isn't necessarily the way I would have wanted to do it, because 28 years of sort of pain just came rushing through that I had to cope with, and I turned to food. But what I would say ultimately made me step away. You know, I know lots of people who have had an addiction, got pregnant, stopped for a bit, and as soon as they've had a baby, they've started again. What actually gave me, kind of forced me to step away from it, was that I found something worth living for, which wasn't actually my son, although he is obviously, but it wasn't actually that. It was having a purpose. It was having something to wake up in the morning for. It was having something that actually made me feel of value in the world, aside from being a mother. But actually it's the purpose that got me away from the addiction.
And, sorry, and the purpose was at that time?
Being of service to others.
Okay. Jess, when we launched Dirty, you were kind of in a different place at that period of time to where you are now. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, I think about 4 years ago, on paper, I had amazing children, a wonderful husband, money, a career, and I just remember never feeling myself, and it sounds a bit cliche, but I just never felt myself. I was over caffeinated, I wasn't sleeping, I had a sugar addiction, and I remember getting to Dubai, and I did a test, and this test is a saliva test, and it's called the Dutch test. And on my way to the airport, when I was due to leave Dubai, the doctor called me and said, by the way, I have got your results, and your cortisol levels are the same as someone going into war or famine. Now at the time I was quite fat, so it wasn't like I was going hungry or anything. So he also said to me, I don't know how you're functioning. And I always talk about these ding-ding moments in your life, and that was really a moment for me where I was like, okay, I need to address this. Cut a long story short, the cab goes back to the house because Dubai goes onto lockdown, and that evening I meet Simon and Andrew in the garden at my brother's house, and I was kind of in the conversation but not in the conversation, and they were talking about drinking mushrooms, and I remember in my typical Jessica way I said, why in God's name would anybody in their right mind drink mushrooms? That sounds disgusting. And I felt very strongly about it because I also didn't like mushrooms. I've always been told, don't go near mushrooms. They're slimy, you know, they could kill you, they get you hot. I mean, all of the mycophobia stuff, I was living and breathing it. And they're so infectious, and the way they were speaking about it and their experiences and what they wanted to do really blew my mind. So that night I had my first cup of reishi. And for 3 months while we were stuck in lockdown, I drank lion's mane in the morning and chaga in the afternoon, and then I would have reishi at night. And for me, there was, I talk about these ping moments, but there was a moment where my daughter was being homeschooled, and I put her in the class, and it was like, you know, don't forget you need this and you need that, and it was all very stressful. I'm definitely not born to be a teacher. And I put her in the room, and I came out, and the teacher called me and said, oh, your daughter's not in maths class, where is she? So I went storming in, ready for the battle. And she'd gone to speak to the dogs, because the dogs were calling her, as they do. And I just burst out laughing. And I remember thinking at that moment, wow, that would have set me right off before. And I remember thinking, God, I wonder if these mushrooms are actually working, because I felt like I found some joy. And subsequently, I did my Dutch test again, and I'm definitely not that stressed anymore. And I follow a very strict protocol that I found really helps to adapt stresses and the power of the things that we can do, from time management to red light therapy to stacking your mushrooms. I mean, there's a handful of things that really can be transformative.
Wait, these are your protocols? You're just...
Yeah, I mean, I have, everyone knows in the office, I have very strict protocols. I don't have so much time to make up so many concoctions, so I do it in my way. But mushrooms are a massive part of my protocol. So is Celtic salt, so is creatine, protein, red light therapy, manifestation. I mean, I could be here all night, but yet that I will never ever go back to that state that I was again, because I never realised that this is the norm, not that.
Wow, that's incredible. Amazing. And actually, it's bringing the science into the next question. This might help, because I was going to go and want you to break down those protocols, because, a lot of our community at Dirty, we are all going through some sort of stress, and we are trying to find a way to adapt to stress, and no one should really go for the quick fix. There are different ways, but you have to commit yourself, I find, and that commitment comes with building habits, and that can be such a hard thing to do sometimes. But I want to come back to you, if you don't mind that, but to go on to the science part from a neuroscientific point of view, how does wellness and nutrition, sleep, movement impact focus and decision making?
So there's so many things I want to speak to from what you two have already mentioned, but we have to start with the basics. All of these really nice extras like creatine and mushrooms, there's no point taking them if you're not looking after the basics first. So that is what I call rest, fuel, hydrate, oxygenate, and simplify. So rest is obviously sleep, but it's also downtime, so that you're not switched on all the time and you have some time that you do nothing, or you walk in nature, or you spend time with friends. I'm not going to go into too much detail on all of them. I'm sure you've all heard most of this before. Fuel is really important, because even though your brain is only 2% of your body weight, it uses up 20 to 30% of the breakdown products of what you eat. So when you're asleep, your brain is using up 20% of what you ate that day. When you're hard at work, it's using up 25%, and when you're stressed, it's using up 30%. So obviously what you eat is really important as well. So I'll just give a few top tips. So 30 different plant products, including mushrooms, per week. Dark skinned foods, so purple sprouting broccoli, red potatoes, purple sweet potato, blueberries. They contain really special antioxidants called anthocyanins that are particularly good for your brain. Healthy fats, so olive oil, avocado, etc., fatty fish. I'm going to come back to something seasonal later. So hydration, the brain is mostly made up of fat and water, so we need to drink enough water to keep ourselves hydrated, and cortisol, the stress hormone, dries out our whole system, so you might need to drink more water when you're stressed. And it should be about half a litre per every 15 kilos of your body weight per day. Unless you exercise excessively or drink a lot of caffeine or alcohol or do a lot of sauna, stuff like that, then you might need to drink more. Oxygenate is, you need oxygen for your brain to work, so that's both exercise but also deep breathing. Because when we're stressed, we tend to do shallow breathing or breath holding. A lot of people hold their breath when they're looking at their emails or social media, so maybe try to notice if you do that. And then finally, simplify is stress management. So that could be mindfulness, it could be adaptogenic mushrooms, it could be time with friends, it could be time in nature. It's what it is for you, gratitude, journaling, all of that.
There is a lot there.
Okay.
That was like literally bullet points.
Well, when you talk about breathing, we don't breathe right. I mean, I have read that we are the worst breathers in the animal kingdom, and you talk about shallow breathing, so we're chest rather than diaphragm. Is that the case?
Well, it's just how deep it is. So it's both the number of breaths per minute, which should be 16 to 18. So it could be that it's more rapid than that, because instead of inhaling and exhaling for long enough, we're just breathing in and out really quickly. So we're not fully oxygenating, and we're sending signals to the vagus nerve that we're under threat. So it's all connected. That then will increase our adrenaline and cortisol.
And you also spoke about, a lot of the stuff you've spoken about, is some of it is free. So the idea of, you just said nature, like walking in the park. What's the science around that? Why does that affect us?
So my new favourite area of study is neuroaesthetics, which is about how art and beauty and creativity have benefits for our mental health, our physical health, and our longevity. But the most impressive science fact around nature is that trees excrete chemicals called phytoncides that trigger the release of natural killer cells, boosting our immunity.
Wow. Okay. Well, we always said, like, the forest is our greatest pharmacy, and you just justified it there. And also, is there an idea around, when you walk around nature, the idea that the brain wants to connect to the sounds, the visuals of nature?
Yeah, so in terms of sounds, birdsong actually lowers our cortisol levels because birds will only sing when there's no predators around, so that means we know we're safe.
Interesting.
And then in terms of visuals, nature was the palette that we have existed since the beginning of humanity in. So it's kind of fundamentally aesthetically pleasing to us. So again, it will lower your blood pressure, lower your heart rate, lower your respiration rate, etc.
Absolutely fascinating. Well, would you mind if we actually went to another part of the conversation, which is going to be around hormones? I think it's a very important part. I hope you don't mind me sharing tonight. And Jess, I'm going to come to you on this. And I say this because at DIRTEA we recently have been opening up the conversation around menopause and perimenopause, certainly from our community who seek the knowledge. But I've learned that it's a subject that's not really spoken about enough, that maybe a misconception or misdiagnosis on the idea. I'm curious to see how we can normalise this conversation, and certainly in the workplace, and how we can learn to thrive, or one can thrive during this time. What's your thoughts on this?
I mean, the reality is that women from a very young age, so when we're teenagers, we get our periods, our hormones change. Then as we get older, we might get pregnant, we might do IVF, we might be under stress, our hormones change again. Then we've got perimenopause, then we've got menopause. So there's constant evolution, let's say, of our hormones. What's amazing is when I grew up, I wasn't allowed to tell my father I got my period. It was like, shh, don't even mention it to your dad. It was like this kind of dirty word, or people would say, she's got her period. And that I would say almost became the same case with perimenopause and menopause, and it was very much a taboo of not discussing it. That being said, there's definitely a shift that's happened in the last couple of years. And the example I will give is when you see an advert from an Oscar-winning Halle Berry talking about vaginal dryness and her issues with her vagina in menopause, you know that the conversation is out, okay? It's no longer that massive dirty secret. No offense to dirty in that sentence, but I think that what I love about it is that everybody loves to share their tips. I mean, Lavinia just came out with her menopause party. She just went into menopause, which you announced, and I think she's having a party about it.
So I congratulate you?
It's out. She's having a party. But I think that before, people were so worried about talking about it, and it was like this kind of strange thing. And what I think is that, especially in the workplace, you've got to have empathy. You've got to realize that people are going through different parts of their lives. And, imagine something happening to you where, you don't know why you're feeling a certain way. But I think if you start to understand that and get behind that, there are so many things. You spoke about nature. I think nature, grounding, mushroom protocols, for example. There are so many things out there that you can now hack to help you going through this. And I love the fact that everybody wants to share it. I've got WhatsApp chats that talk about, oh my God, I've heard creatine's this, because on social media it's like, you're in menopause, you're in perimenopause, you need to take, there's so much information. And what's equally nice is I recently, about 2 months ago, went and saw the Queen's doctor, because I'm only high maintenance. I never go to the doctor, but I'm only high maintenance when I go to doctors. So I went to the Queen's doctor, and she was like, this is what you should do, this is what you should do, if these are your concerns. And she spoke to me about lion's mane. And I thought, oh, wow, that's so interesting that now the world is shifting to realize that it's not just about HRT, it's not just about stacking your mushrooms. And I think that's quite an interesting conversation. And I just want to tell one last story about the workplace. So we do talk about things at Dirty, and it's like a biohacking central first thing in the morning in the kitchen. It's like pass me the collagen, pass me the tremella. But Lavinia came into the office, and everyone knows I could bang on about stacking of mushrooms, and she taught me about snacking. Now, snacking is super interesting, and it's when you do something, a little bit of exercise throughout your day. And she's got all sorts of studies in her book called The Feel Good Fix, which I wrote on my hand because I forgot the name of the book earlier. And they talk about how, doing small amounts of exercise every day can help with your metabolism, your blood sugar, how you're feeling, your stress hormones. So in January, I started not only stacking, I started snacking. Yay. And we did 10 press-ups every hour. On the hour.
Us guys, we were doing it too.
I was about to say,
okay.
all the women joined in, and so did the men.
Yeah.
And on the hour, everybody jumped down to the ground, 10 press-ups, got back to work. Everyone felt good about it. It was like a thing that we all shared. Everyone knew why I was doing it, and everyone had their own reasons. And this month we're doing 10 squats. Yeah. What's funny is when you have an investor walk in or a client walk in, and the CEO and the founders and all the staff are on the floor. So it always makes for an interesting opener to the next meeting.
The dream office environment for me. Well done, gold star.
Thank you very much. Can I ask, what's as much as it's a feel-good factor and it's a nice way to connect with everyone, why are we doing it?
We're doing it because not all of us have an hour to work out, and strength training is so important when you're in perimenopause and menopause. So everything that we can do to strengthen our bones, to help feel strong in ourselves, to create endorphins, productivity, everything I try and do throughout my day.
We're doing really well, so we should definitely we'll carry on that.
Why the men are doing it, I don't know, but it did become a bit of a competition between the men. It was like, I'll do 20, I was like, I'll do 25.
I had this question, and I don't know if I'm right in saying this, so forgive me, Roxie, but is it a good time to manifest going through cycles?
Great question. And I think yes. Okay, so a lot of people will kind of, when they talk about manifesting or they ask me questions, they might say, like, I'm having a really tough time and, I'm ruining my manifesting journey. But manifesting, by the way, is just like a life practice. It's a way of living and approaching life. And as women, for at least 3 to 4 days before our period, we are fucking nightmares, right? We are either depressed, emotional, anxious, or really angry. Okay, it's usually one of them more than the other.
Or
right?
all of the above.
Or all of them, yeah. So I know, for example, that I really truly believe that our vibe matters, and when we are in a high vibrational frequency, we do seem to attract things that match that frequency. So when I'm full of joy and love and excitement and gratitude, I do attract amazing things and abundance into my life. When I am in a bad mood, I don't. And one thing I really notice is that whenever I have PMS, no job offers come through. Literally none. It's quite remarkable. But I also know that when I have PMS, I am so irritable. I probably don't negotiate as well. My feedback is way harsher. Like all these things. It was like really, I could see that the way that I was working was so different when I have PMS. And I'm really lucky that I suppose I own my own company. So I knew, okay, the weeks I have PMS and I track my cycle, I'm not going to do things that are on camera. Except this. I
need to throw the mic
down. Yeah, you really fucked me over. If I wasn't invested in this company, I'm just telling you I wouldn't be here.
Carry on.
I don't take meetings that are important, and I try really to make sure that I'm always taking moments to pause before I give feedback, and making sure that I'm really mindful of the way that I'm interpreting situations. But even having awareness around it is really, I hope, Claudia, do you mind if I throw you on the bus for a second?
Now.
I've done it now. Like Claudia, who's like my right hand, basically, her PMS is the week before mine. But now I know if she's being a bit spicy. And I don't care. And I'm like, oh, it's fine. It's her week. But it gives you a sense of understanding of each other. And I think as a female boss, that is such an amazing position to be in, because a male boss just wouldn't get it. And actually to be able to be like, do you know what, I get if you're not going to be quite yourself this week, or maybe you're going to, like, maybe this isn't the week I give you feedback. Like, that's, I'm not saying that to Claudia, like, it's not about her, but do you know what I mean? Like, it is amazing to be able to have awareness for yourself, but also the people around you. You know, your sisters, your friends, you know, and just to give them a bit of grace in the time when you know they are not feeling their best. And back to the question, when you're manifesting, do it in the peak weeks. Week 2, you'll fucking get it all.
I was gonna wanted to bring you into that because what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that totally makes sense to me, because from the science, when you're ovulating, when you're ovulating, you are at your most attractive to men. So if you film yourself dancing when you're ovulating, and then you film yourself dancing when you're on your period, and 100 men look at these 2 videos, they will rate you as more attractive when you're dancing when you're ovulating. Because it changes the way you sway your hip to waist ratio, and on a primal level, men find that more attractive. And manifestation is the law of attraction, so it kind of totally makes sense. It's also, I just want to throw in another couple of fun facts. When you're ovulating, you're more likely to be attracted to a bad boy. When you're on your period, you're more likely to be attracted to someone who's good husband material.
Well, I don't really have another question on that. Well, actually, let me just tell you, if you don't mind me saying, Lavina, your book, you know, it's as much as it is for women potentially. You know, I've read it and I think it's very important. I'm not saying it's the Mecca or anything, but it's a very important book for me to look into. So, just going back on what you're saying about being in a workplace, look at Dirty. We have what 90% of women and so forth, and we as men should very much be educated. This is something we should do probably more regularly with more guys in here as well.
I think just on that, I think also in the workplace, when you do have a lot of women, showing vulnerability and being empathetic to a situation is really important. Like, it's okay to have an off day. It's okay. Like, you don't need to be, you know, it's okay. Like, and I'm not very judgmental on that. So I think if you project that, then people will receive that, because we are going through different moments in our lives.
1 minute, what are you going to say?
So, do we all know about menstrual synchronization?
Yeah.
So, how much time do you spend with Claudia?
Yeah, a fair amount. You would have thought we'd have synced
I
by
would have thought
now.
you'd just synced, so that was the first thing that popped into my mind.
I'm so sorry, I didn't expect to talk about your period this much.
Stand up, Claudia.
But also, did you know that in an office like yours, with several, 20 women, women will tend to synchronise, but towards the alpha female. So, has anyone said to you, oh, my period's late and now it's at the same time as yours, or I wasn't due yet, but now that you've come on, I've come on?
We haven't covered that. It hasn't been on any agenda. So, I'm not sure.
I just want to confirm that you're the alpha female, that's all.
We've got quite a few alpha females.
We do, and actually most of our team, the female team, are here. And actually just nestled in the corner there, so if you want to respond to anything there. No silence. Oh my goodness me, should we just move on to another subject? Really go into more. Actually no, I don't. I want to ask you another question. We spoke about this before, as on the hormonal side, between the internal and external cycles. Is that something you can just share more on? And if you could just break it down between the two as well.
Yeah, so when we were kind of discussing the topics, and hormones was one of them, I just wanted to make the point that we're interacting with our environments, and it's a lot more complex than just our menstrual cycle. So our menstrual cycle is one thing. We also have energy cycles that vary for various reasons. With manifestation, I find that sometimes it's like, be careful what you ask for, because everything's just dropping out of the sky, and then months can go past where I don't feel like I'm manifesting at all. There's also the seasonal cycles are important, particularly because of seasonal affective disorder, which starts to happen when the days get shorter. And so at that time, it's very important to increase your intake of vitamin D. Now, mushrooms are a massive source of vitamin D2, which is the plant version of vitamin D. Personally, I have to take vitamin D3 with K2 as well, but I will not only take more mushrooms around that time and supplement, I'll also eat more mushrooms. And when my mushrooms come in my weekly farm box, everything else goes in the fridge, but the mushrooms go on the windowsill because they keep synthesizing vitamin D from sunlight until you're ready to eat them. And then I also wanted to say a little thing about moon cycles, because so sometimes those do sync up with menstrual cycles as well, but not always. And when I was a junior psychiatrist, none of us wanted to be on call when it was a full moon, because whoever was would be up all night, because for two reasons. One is that people who are vulnerable mentally, if they get disturbed sleep, it can really set off a nervous breakdown. And when it's a full moon, it's lighter. And you can perceive that through your closed eyelids, so people are more likely to become disturbed and want to come to hospital in the middle of the night. And then there's also the gravitational pull of the moon, because we're made up of so much water. So there's a theory that that could also upset mental health. But I promise you, there were two jokes that we had ongoing.
Yeah.
One was like, oh no, you're on call for full moon. And the other one was, everybody was like, I just pray that I get a Swart night, because I complained at the end of my first year to my consultant that I wasn't getting enough overnight experience because I was never getting woken up on call. And he just said, Tara, don't complain about that.
There's one thing you shared to me about the real true definition around lunacy.
Yeah, so lunar cycles of the moon, that's why people with mental health problems are called lunatics.
There you go, write that one down. And it's been building my mum and dad. On time. Bless you. Always late.
That's where you guys get it from.
Yeah, okay. We'll move on to the next section, which is going to be looking at work-life balance and connections. Okay, let's discuss the balanced work-life connection. And I'd like to start with going back to Jess, our CEO. Raising a family is a huge role in themselves. How do you balance being an incredible CEO while raising an incredible family? And how do you ensure you're giving the best to both?
Okay, I think when we talk about balance, I think balance is a really interesting word, because the reality is we never have perfect equilibrium in anything in our life. So the first thing I do is I live my life with purpose and intent. I think many years ago, actually when I met my husband, I gave up guilt, which is fantastic, because I never feel guilty, like, oh, I'm not doing this or I'm not doing that, or I'm a working mom, I can't be at pickup, there's a million things I miss, but I don't feel guilty about it. What I kind of caveat that with is when I am there, so if I am gonna spend half an hour with my kids every night, we're gonna sit down wherever they want, they're gonna dictate the conversation, they're gonna tell me about gossip in school, a viral lip gloss, I might play poker with my son, whatever it is, but it's 30 minutes of their time, I've got no phone, I'm not distracted, and my intention is to listen. And I think the idea of having quality over quantity plays to the balance of being a mother. And at work, when I'm in a meeting, everyone knows I don't like it when people have their phones. And if we are going to be in a meeting, we're focused together, I'm present there.
You are.
So, go ahead.
I was going to ask, is this something called mum's guilt? Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a massive thing. I mean, Jesus, the second you become a mom, everything's like, is he sleeping? Is he burping? Does he need a change? Have I done enough? It's like, it's never ending. And I think that that's a constant thing that we worry about. And when I say I give up guilt, I'll always worry about my children, but I will worry in a very kind of positive light. I think time is the big thing with parents, that, you know, we always feel like we're not giving enough. But if you make peace with having quality over quantity, then, you know, that kind of subsides, I would say.
I love that. And Roxie, sorry, Ty, did you want to say?
Not that I'm trying to reduce your time with your mum, but the science shows that if you spend 1 minute per year of your child's age with them per day, that's quality time, that's actually enough for their mental health.
You just lost half your time.
Well, I was going to say thank you for that. And Roxie, you are so busy. Another book coming out, and you're always on podcasts, you're travelling the world. Do you suffer from this idea of mum's guilt?
I'm very much like Jess, actually. No, not at all. I think that, you know, Wolf is so happy, so something's right. And when I am with Wolf, I am like 100% his. Like, and I really feel proud of who I am as a mum. In fact, my favourite version of me is Mum Roxie. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think, isn't it funny that like we are always a different version of ourselves depending on who we're with? So the version that you are at work, or with your partner, or with your family, or with even different friends, you're a different version of yourself. And early on, I tried to understand like which is the version of me I like the most, and it is always with my son, because I think he sees me for who I am, and I see him, and there's that feeling of being seen and loved in this like deepest level. And he brings out like a patience and softness that I think is a really important antidote to how I feel at work, where where I'm much more in my masculine energy a lot of the time. And I think that for me, I had many times where I would reach this kind of like burnout. And for me, irritability is a real sign of burnout. That for me is when I know I'm taking on too much. But about a year ago, I really decided to just be very strict with myself. Weekends were weekends again. After 6 p.m, I do not do any work at all, unless it's like an exceptionally busy period where I'm like, I know this week I'm going to have to work till the evening. And then the other thing that has been truly life-changing for me is finding a practice that helps me lower my nervous system and calm it down. So 3 times that I talk about this, I'm so obsessed. I can't stop about it. I have been doing every week 2 to 3 30-minute sound baths and yin yoga sessions. And fuck me, I feel good. Like,
I know how you feel.
oh my god, it's like night and day. Like, even my PMS this week, I've been fine. I'm not even like angry at anything. And I did cry on Monday, and I never cry, so that might have been to do with it. But, you know, I just feel like my capacity to handle everything is far beyond anything I thought was possible. I'm probably in the busiest period of my life right now, and I'm giving like 100% to Wolf as whenever I'm with him, and I just feel really at peace, and I don't feel stressed, I don't feel overwhelmed by the diary or this, and it's a really amazing place to be. And that is all because I feel like I've hacked my nervous system. And it really, like, you know, when you hear about these practices and you just never do it, I'm like, oh my god, please, if you do one thing, just like do it. Set intentions before.
I've got 2 things.
Yeah.
One, well, most of us who follow you on Instagram, of course, many of us here, we follow you as an absolutely incredible mother. I love the way that you show Wolfie. It's absolutely amazing. I know we've been watching him grow. I think you're an absolutely incredible mother. As are you, Jess.
I'm just still on the she needs work, she doesn't do any work past 6.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that part.
That's what I'm taking away from this talk.
If I can, I know it's kind of going back, and forgive me because I don't want to do any tangents, but you said that you do this yin yoga, you do the sound bath, but how are you keeping this consistency? One of the greatest failures, I think 95% of all habits are out the window at the end of January. What is it you're doing to make sure you can commit?
I made it really easy for myself, and I joined a gym that is way too expensive, but is right opposite my house, and it has sound baths. So I have made it easy for myself. Like, it is too expensive, and I probably wouldn't pay for it otherwise, but I know that it will get me there because I'm taking away the barriers. So it's like, you know how they say, like, when you wake up, first thing in the morning, like, put on your gym kit before you go and make your morning coffee or whatever it is, because you're kind of breaking down one of the barriers to get to where you need to get to. So I think I've done something that I find really easy, but I've also recognized, and I don't know if it's just with age or with having had burnout so many times, that like that being busy and the idea of being busy all the time is so rooted in people's self-worth and the feeling that if they are busy, they are valuable or they're important, and I think that it's also so addictive. And having been an addict, I know that if I have before when I had a very busy period, if I had a day off, I would panic of what feelings am I gonna have in that day off, or is it gonna be like a come down, or because there's so many highs in what I do. And now I've become to really like befriend slowing down. But I did start small with like meditation and being present and mindful and just not glorifying busyness and actually glorifying like rest and rejuvenation, and fuck me, a calm nervous system is just where it's at.
100%.
Isn't there that great quote from Alan Watts that says the true measure of success isn't, oh wait, I forgot. The true measure of success is a calm nervous system.
Yeah.
I love that quote, which I remembered perfectly.
And Alan Watts is an amazing philosopher.
Can I just say something on
Yeah,
that
by all
point?
means.
I think this whole notion of self-care now, like before, self-care was this selfish thing and, oh, I'll do that when I can fit it in. And I think now people really prioritize, like, I will make it a point of not moving certain things or having things in the diary that I have to commit to. And I think convenience. I recently did a Kundalini. Have you ever done that? Wow. She's here tonight, and let me tell you, you know, she sat down and you know, I'm quite tough or whatever, and I know how to relax, and I went into this Kundalini, which is why when you said the sound healing, and the music curation was like next level. And she was like, look, some people cry, some people laugh, you know, this beautiful speech beforehand. And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to lie down. And just the thought of lying down with some candles in a quiet room with a bunch of women, no one talking, listening to music. Heaven, Primrose Hill, up the road from me. Got in there. The second bit of the song, I went. And I came out, and I've got to tell you, I found that practice transformative, and I was blown away. She's here today, that's Anushka.
She's the back just
but
floating.
I was absolutely blown away by these things, because we've done sound healing before, and we walked out and we're like, God, that really irritated me. And I think it's all about the practitioner and the way they do it. But yeah, we were furious when we left.
You were.
And you were pretty angry too. I walked in going, ready to heal me, and walked out, and Andrew's like, is it me or are you pissed off? I'm like, I'm pissed off. The sound was so bangy and her voice was so annoying.
I journal
And she's here tonight, she's in the back. So yeah, I think these practices are definitely out there, and it's about learning what allows you to relax and kind of calm down, because there's definitely something in them for sure.
There is. Is there any science we can support these experiences on the sound?
I think it relates back to what I said earlier in my simplify section, which was find the thing that works for you. What struck me about your story was everything that you said, I completely agree with, but also how it makes you feel makes you want to go back.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're super busy and stressed, that all of that's fallen to the wayside. But once you do get back into it, and you remember how it makes you feel, it's almost like a drug, but in a good way.
Yeah.
So then you will make time for it, and then you'll get the cumulative benefits. So that sort of made sense. But I also want to say to you, I also never work after 6 p.m.
Yep.
No one over there listened to this conversation. We've got all the staff here too. So.
Well, I think it goes back to the point that Roxie made, which is that even the way that this question was phrased was, you're so busy, you travel so much, you're on so many podcasts. I think people probably think that about me too, but I actually prioritise my downtime more than anything. If I get offered a stupid amount of money to fly to America to give a talk, I will think to myself, what else could I do with that time? And if the answer to that is stay at home doing nothing, and that's what I need, I will turn down a piece of work. If it's I need to be with my loved ones rather than go away, I will turn down a piece of work.
Can I say it's so interesting because I think that when it comes to like, you know, what you say yes to and what you say no to, I just want to share, I was just talking about it on my way here. Okay, tomorrow night I was invited to something with a really cool, okay, whatever, Vogue, right? Okay. I was invited to this Vogue dinner tomorrow night. This is so personal, by the way. Oh shit, it's Instagram Live.
That's fine.
Well,
Yeah, fuck it. Okay. Right, so, oh no, I actually can't.
Do you want me to turn it off
No,
for a
it's fine.
second?
Yeah. It's not that big a deal. I don't want to offend anyone.
I don't know.
We're going to offend a lot of people.
I'm really sorry about people on Instagram Live. This is not going to...
Even if it is to thousands of people, and I mess up my lines, instead of it messing up my lines and then allowing my inner critic to be like, oh my god, you idiot, and trying to carry on, I'm like, oh my god guys, I'm so sorry, can we just start that again? And immediately, when you allow yourself to be imperfect and vulnerable, you take all the pressure off yourself and you connect with people better. So I heard Vanessa Van Edwards talk on Diary of a CEO, and she said that they did this experiment where they had people making a smoothie, and one person making the smoothie would spill the smoothie, and the person that would spill it would sell more smoothies. People are connected to imperfection and vulnerability and authenticity. And so I don't feel like I don't get imposter syndrome because I'm not trying to be the best in the world. I'm just trying to be my version of whatever it is I'm doing, and know that I'm always growing and I'm always learning and willing to take accountability when I'm not so good, or you know, where I need to improve or get better. And I think when you take off that pressure, you're just being yourself. So where's the imposter?
Yeah, I think that's wonderfully said. But it is still tough, I guess, you know, to release that weight. I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. Sorry, Winston.
I think that it's probably easier for us because we work for ourselves. I think in corporations it's probably a lot more of a problem, understandably, because so much comparison. Because I wouldn't say I've never had it, but you know, I was trained as a doctor, so when you're a doctor, you're all the same. So, and you are a doctor, and again, you learn from experience. Maybe a little bit when I changed career at first, and I just felt like I didn't have a place. So I was a former psychiatrist trying to be a coach. I do remember using positive affirmations to tell myself that I could, you know, get a client or do well in an interview or something like that. So maybe that's one helpful tip.
There was a time, I think, we spoke about this recently, about a mentor of yours, I think the HR director, that do you remember?
You're talking about the story where I cried?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, he wasn't my mentor. He was...
Actually, I just realised when you just said that, he can't be your
No,
mentor.
exactly. You're just muddling up two stories.
Oh,
Yeah, so I quit the NHS and signed up for a coaching course, and everybody else was already a consultant or an HR director that was kind of doing it for their professional development or to add to their consultancy. So they either had they were all business people, there were no psychologists on my intake. And we were having this group dinner, and this HR director said to me, why would I ever pay you to coach one of my senior leaders when there's so many coaches out there with so many years of experience in business? And I just burst into tears at the table because I didn't really know what to say to that. But I burnt my bridges with my last career, so I was going to have to make it work. But that really made me think like I could fail. And so then basically everyone else in the class just said, oh, I love coaching and I can't wait to get clients, and went back to their regular job and never really got any coaching clients. I had no network in business, so I went networking like crazy. All I did every day was meet people and say, introduce me to someone else. I started getting a few coaching clients, and then I met a headhunter who gave me lots of clients. And I think it was about a year and a half later, I purposefully sought out that HR director, and I said to him, do you remember what you said to me about I'd never make it as a coach? And he said, yeah. And I said, what do you think of that now?
He started crying.
Before we go to the next section, maybe if I can ask you as well the same question around
I've
imposter syndrome.
definitely experienced imposter syndrome when I was younger, for sure. When I started my career, I did really well really quickly. And I remember the women I worked with would constantly say to me, oh, that's because of luck, oh, you know, and would constantly put me down. And I had a very toxic boss who I'd be in the middle of a conversation and he'd clap his hands in front of me and say, did you go to Harvard? No, so shut the fuck up. Yeah, if he's watching. So I very soon realized that toxicity in the workplace is an absolute no-no and can really trigger your imposter syndrome. So before Dirty, I was a mentor and I often spoke about pop drillers and pop fillers, and I live my life by this. And it's very much that you have this pot and you have things that fill your pot. So that could be adaptogens, a great job, a wonderful family, working out, whatever it may be, sound baths. And then you have pot drillers, the ones that drill your pots. That could be drugs, that could be alcohol, that could be toxicity, negativity. And so I make sure that I would never work in an environment, nor would I lead in an environment where you have the pot driller mentality. I never hire a pot driller. And that has definitely curbed my ability to accept imposter syndrome again, because I like myself now. I think I'm doing a great job. I'm my number one fan, so
Yeah, I know
I
that.
don't really get imposter syndrome now.
And I know that too. I know that too. Chris. We're going to come to the tail end of this, but I just want to ask for each of you, like, how women can support each other to be better in business. And if I can just lean on our CEO, Jessica Salmon-Paul.
I think that we touched on it before, showing vulnerability and empathy. I often talk about making mistakes. I think failure is not a negative word. I think if you're not failing, you're not growing. We talk about failure in our house all the time. And not being afraid to kind of make mistakes. I think it's really important with women in business, with team members, is to support each other and be really excited and share people's success. I mean, when I see your book selling out or an amazing podcast from Tara, I feel the sense of pride. And I think we always need to sit at a table with women who are our cheerleaders, who want the best for us, who love it when we shine. And my daughter taught me a term which was to be a crown straightener. And I really liked that, which is, you know,
Oh, wow.
I think if we do more of that in life, you know, what you put out is what you receive. And be nice to yourself.
Wonderful. By the way, do you have any mentors that you grew up with? I'm just curious, because getting getting these kind of life lessons and.
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of self-development because
Sure.
of where I was before. I had a very, very difficult childhood, so I had to consciously make the effort not to go into depression, not to go into addictive natures, because that's where I'd come from. I read a lot of self-help books. I find music. I know exactly what can trigger me and what can fill my pot. But I did have a wonderful mentor called Mike Pegg in my career, and he really spoke a lot about self-belief. We have manifest boards all over our house. We have Roxie's cards next to our bed that we turn over every morning. I have I Am Enough written on every single mirror from Marissa Peer, who is also one of our wonderful investors. So, you know, it's constant evolution, and I think, you know, just being positive and being conscious of being kind to yourself and speaking what, you know, it drives me mad when you speak to women and they go, you know, oh yeah, I'm terrible at that, or oh, you know, my food tastes, you know, your food's amazing. Oh no, I put too much salt. There's this constant speaking of ourselves badly, and I think that people need to understand that you have to be kind to yourself, because that's when great things happen, and we can all expect miracles, but you need to believe that you deserve those miracles in your life.
Wonderfully said, Jess. Come on. By the way, the self-talk thing, I think, is absolutely important. It's something I learned when I was reading your book as well. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't seen it yet, your podcast with Marissa Peer was excellent a couple of days ago. And an even better podcast, not even more recently, was both of you together. And I know, if you don't mind me saying, you weren't too sure. I remember on stage, you said you weren't too sure. And let me tell you, I thought it was an absolutely excellent conversation.
Not because of you, Tara, just to clarify.
Well, you weren't there, Tara. Thank you.
I was very nervous, yeah.
You were, yeah. Both of them. Can I ask you the same question?
Well, look, I don't actually think I can say anything better than Jess did. I think she put it so perfectly about vulnerability and compassion. And actually, all I want to say is that, I love being inspired by other women. And Tara, first, I could just listen to you all day. I love your facts, and you know so much about so much. And it's such an honour to be sat here with you and hear all your incredible knowledge. And Jess, on our way here, I said to Claudia, I was like, have you met Jess yet? She said, no. I said, she is an icon. And I'll tell you, because the first time I met you, you walk into a room and you are just so empowered. And you know what, hearing you speak, you so effortlessly own your own life and step into it. And you're not ashamed to say, I like myself. And that is so important for other women to hear, because women need to realise that we can be confident without being arrogant, and it's something I speak about in my new book, Confidence, 8 Steps to Own Your Worth. Pre-order now.
$7.99 on Amazon.
We have I think there's a step called celebrate yourself. And the reasons that we struggle to celebrate ourselves as women is, one, we have glorified humility, to such an extent, and things even like the evil eye, which I grew up with, and I know lots of people in this room have grown up with, don't invite negative energy, essentially by being too seen, by being too good, by seeming too happy, which is just ridiculous when you actually consider it. And then we confuse arrogance with confidence. And we think that if we show up as ourselves, if we step into our light, if we're proud of ourselves, people are going to receive us as arrogant and they won't like us. Arrogance and confidence are not the same thing. And the third reason is shame. I think there's still a lot of parts of ourselves that we try to hide, or that we don't think are lovable or desirable. But all the parts of ourselves that we're trying to hide are actually the parts of ourselves that are the most unique and magnetic. And so I think being able, Jess for me is you are the epitome of a confident woman. And I think, like I said, I just feel very proud to be alongside both of you incredible women, and hearing you speak. So thank you.
I second that as well. Tara, same question to you.
So I'm going to answer one part as a neuroscientist and one part as a woman. So from the neuroplasticity point of view, honing your intuition is the biggest superpower that you could give yourself, particularly I think in corporate life. We're a bit more allowed to do that anyway. But I think of the different ways of thinking that are available to people, that's one where women can have an edge over everyone else if they really know how to use it. So that would be, and I suggest journaling to hone your dilemmas and decision making, and whether you choose logic or you choose intuition, and then reading back over that, seeing how it panned out. And then what I was just thinking sitting here is that I think sometimes because women can tend to be in the minority in corporates, or there is all this talk about imposter syndrome, which happens to men just as much as it happens to women. I think people try to either tend to fade back, or not really be themselves, or sort of try to be more masculine, or even be forced into a masculine energy. And I would say, look at these two, look at the incredible things they've achieved. They're so feminine, they're so glamorous. I love wearing pink all the time, it's my favourite colour, and I don't apologise for that. So I think be a woman and to know that intuition can be your superpower.
I think also that was your purpose going into neuroscience, to really make sure that this is an area that women should be going to as well.
Well, it wasn't my purpose going into it, because I did my PhD and then I didn't actually use it because I went back to being a doctor and then I became a coach. But later in my career, seeing that all the other popular neuroscientists are male, I think I said to you that one of the reasons I get up in the morning is so that little girls have a role model, someone who's a scientist or a doctor that is girly and likes fashion and beauty and stuff like that.
Okay, sorry. So, my goodness me, it's one of these kind of obvious questions. It's the very last one. If you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would that advice be? I'm definitely looking at you, Jess. Sorry.
What would that be? I often talk about being the kindest person in the room to my kids. So I think be kind to yourself. Realize that everybody deserves a remarkable life, and if you don't have all the answers right now, it's okay. Tomorrow's a new day, and you have no idea what's around the corner in your life.
Thank you. Thank you, Jess. Roxie.
Don't take drugs.
Did you hear what Roxie said?
Okay. Thank you very much. Sorry, you can't say the same, but...
Well, I'm a neuropharmacologist, so I wouldn't necessarily say the same. So I think actually, though, there's so many, you could have tried to be smarter with your answer, but that is actually a really good piece of advice.
So it wasn't smart.
That's okay, you're enough.
It's so basic. It's so basic. I don't think people say that because they think, oh, children must know that they shouldn't take drugs. Actually, say. I would say that for myself and a lot of women that I'm close to, I've seen a lot of the issues that you're grappling with at the time, let's say each decade, and then you look back and you think, I was so beautiful, I was so young, I didn't realise how amazing I was. But I'm still doing that again now. So instead of wishing that you were younger, just really appreciate wherever you are now, that in 10 years' time you'll look back and think, I was so lucky and I didn't appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. What a wonderful way to end it. Now, if you're up for giving this...
Bye. Say bye to the lights.
Well, I think we should start with Roxie because she's the one who violently shut them down. So do you want to say bye to everyone?
Bye.
Sorry, Roxie. Look.